Hello everyone, welcome to my videos. Today let me start that in this ninth standard social science chapter number 8, the modern Europe. So in this chapter we have to studying in my last class the Renaissance and the meaning of Renaissance. What were the art and architecture and then sculpture in this Renaissance period, and then what was the science during between the Renaissance. Some scientist he has to invented there were questions for the some others for the science during, and then what was the effects of this Renaissance. So this informations also we have to studying in my last class, but still today we have to studying that the geographical exploration. Okay, let me start that. The geographical exploration. The 16th century have been called the century of geographical exploration. Till the end of this Middle Age, the European were ignorant of the geography. In the later development, the Europeans found the new sea routes to various parts of the world. The new continuous of the North America, South America, and then Australian came to the light. Okay, next we have to see there. So, what was the reason for the geographical exploration? The first of all, the Spain and Portugal were combinations of the competing with the Arabs in the sea trade. The local people and the rich encouraged adventures to youth to venture into the sea. So this is also one of the it has to inspire to geographical explorations for this one of the reason. So when the Turks conquered the place, the Constantinople in the 1453, it has to be closed the trade gates between the east to the west. With this, the Turks started getting more profits out of this spices import from this India's, and then European faced the inevitability of this find the new sea routes of this India. So this is also one of the two reason. And the next one, the discovery of the new countries opened the possibility of this spreading that Christianity. Then adventure the nurtures of the sea voyage towards the eastern countries. They venture to the brinks for the silk, cotton, Muslim cloth, and to the sea, all them for this the profit. The experiment done during the Renaissance, the period had proved to the that in the earth is the round. The Martin compass and astrolabe, it has to be the equipment were the helps to the sailor, the chart and map available to the sailor. The Marco Polo, he is also explained the richness of this India and China in the book. The travels for this Marco Polo, this book has to the traveling experience to these countries. This explanation attacked by the Europeans to visit the countries. So these are all reason to the reason for geographical exploration, how to he has to spread that all over the world. After that, the sailor sent by Henry, they removed the around the large period, explored the west coast of this African continent, and went to a long distance toward to the south. So Bartholomew Dias reached the southern tip of African continent, and it called for the Cape of Good Hope. And the next, the Christopher Columbus, he has to the Gion city crossed the Atlantic Ocean with the help of the King of Spain, reached the Bahamas in the West Indies, that is the Caribbean island. And then next, in this Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailed around to the Cape of Good Hope, crossed in the India Ocean, and reached the Calicut in the India. Thus, the dream of reaching the India by the European came into the reality. So after that, Portuguese sailor Ferdinand Magellan was the first to the round of the Cape. So after traveling for these 5 months, he reached the South American in the 15 to 23. So these are all reason to time the in nations and then sailors and then invaded place. Look at the chart. So at that times he has to invent. For example, the 1487 C, the Portugal, the sailor Bartholomew Dias, he has to invented the Cape of Good Hope place. So these are all navigators. He has to invented the some other the sea route and place would the identify this the landmarks. And the next, so what was the effect of this geographical exploration? Okay, look at that one by one. The entire economic systems of this Europe underwent the change. The prosperity of this Italy and then Germany declined. The countries like the France and England became the powerful in the and in the huge build. The Europeans should establish the great link between America, Africa, and then Asia. They added the lot of the wealth and also the knowledge from this exploitation. And the third one, the France and England built the new markets in the America and India. They founded the colonies in these places to earn the more profit for this. The America, France and England, it is has to build, and then America and India they founded the colonies. The preachers in the church in they went to this the new place that is introduced their religion. These explorations of this facilitated the exchange of this idea between the east and west, the resulting in the new knowledge. And the sixth one, it has to be lost. With the help of this Magellan, it has practically proved that the earth is not a flat but is to be the round. And then the African slaves were utilities for this economical development of the North America. The slave trade that came into the existence. So these are all were the effects of this the geographical exploration. Next we have to see there, that is the religious reformation. So what was the meaning of this religion reformation? So at the time the questioning of this authority of this Catholic Church and the Pope with the rise of modernity is called, that is the religious reformation. So at that moment the many of these members in the Christian clergy and the popes, instead of this leading the cheat life, indulge the materialistic pleasures. The many of them committed the immoral acts also. The popes, instead of reforming the religion, showed interest in the politicals, the Italy Boccaccio, the Aldous, Armas, and then England's John the Wycliffe condemned to these acts. The clerks were the not the scholars. They stayed away from the study of the Bible, and it has to become the part of the misdeeds for this church. So these are all reasons the religious reformations it has to be started. And on third one point, the clashes during the Middle Age between the emperor and the pope wounded the pride and the self-respect of this emperor they supported for this the Reformation movement. The scientific approach, that curiosity, it has to inspired by the Renaissance, made European to contemplate applications of this the approach to the religious problems also. And the next he has to the Martin Luther. The Martin Luther is founder of this religion reformation movement. He was born in the Isabel as the son of the Hans and the Margaret. He monkhood of this started studying the Bible at the Augustus Church. He became the professor of theology at the Westlenberg universities. He was curious to see the church and the pope at the Rome and he visited the Rome. He became the unhappy with the luxury and the immoral life of Pope. There were a no difference between the teaching of this Christianity and an actual behavior of this the Pope. The regional movement started by the Martin Luther was called as the religious reformation movement. The Martin Luther rejected the preaching of this Catholic Church in the 15 to 17. He opposed the sale of pardon letters by this the church. And then in order to achieve the pardons of the sinner, he was accepted the engaged in the good deeds. But all this, the many of this occasion, the would simply pay for this church and get letter for this pardon. So that instead of this during the good deeds, he has to Martin Luther, he has to oppose there. So and then opposite there the sale of these letters to pardons the strongly. The follower of this Martin Luther were called as the Protestants. Then more of than half has to Germans becomes to the to follow upon the Martin Luther. It has called the that sects. It is to the Protestant. The religious Reformation movement to created the internal distributes in the Europe and distributed the religious environment also. The many Europeans lost their lives for this religious faith. The many were impressed with the properties for this confidence, confiscated. The Roman Catholic, the harassed the Protestants, where they were in the majority. This similarly, whenever the Protestant got support from this the government, harassed the Catholic followers. The famous 30-year war in the war between the Protestant and then the Catholic. And the next, the effect of, so these are all regions to effect of this, the religion reformation. As a result of religious reformation, the solidarity of the Christian, the religion received a severe blow. Christianity was divided into these sects. The Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Protestant Church also. The many of the European kings got liberated from the hold on church and the pope. and led the rise of this nationalism. The church was the utilized to the economic development and the patriotic feeling became the strong and the king of Europe. He has developed the religious, the tolerance. And the next industrial revolution. So industrial revolution, the employment of this mechanical energy in the place of human energy to the process of production is called, that is the industrial revolution. That revolution to start at the England in the 18th century, later to spread the part of this the European. With the established the colonial trade, increased the demand for finished good roses. The traditional process of this production could not meet the demand. It was this time there was a intellectual awaken and the expectations of the profit took roots. Due to this, the people engaged in industrial war encouraged the find better process for these productions. In the 18th century, the new method in the fields of this industry and transport brought on the changes. The changes took place in industry's field between the 70 to 60, 70 60 to 1830 are called, that is that period it is to be is called for this, that industrial revolution was changed. So what was the reasons for this changing? Okay, look at that first one. The scientist, he has to invention that took the place in England due to the Renaissance result in this industrial revolution. So these are all machines he has to invented in this the movement. The powerful countries, the powerful countries of Europe who made profit from their the colonies, they invested the industries with their result of the European countries increased the demand of consumer goods made a new invention inevitable. The political stability, the better waterway and the natural resources to enable the industries, the revolution. The European technicals to the skilled the works who were the fed up to the crusades in that Europe's settled in England and took activity to part of this industrial revolution. After that movement, it has to be great changes in the textile industries. After a new year, Richard Awakurai to improve the spinning jenny and in the 1769. So inverted the water frame and the period of the Samuel Captain to inverted the mechanical known as to the mule. And then next, the John K. He has invented the horseshoes which moved from the one side to the another. And the next, the Edmond the Cartwright invented the waving machine called a power loom in the 1785. Due to this, more cloths could be produced in a very short time. In 1793, the Willie Whitney invented the cotton gin. In the 1815 CE, the George Stephenson invented the rail coach to the could be used for this the transport goods. In 1801, the American William Sinston adopted the Words engine to the boat and made it move. The another American, the Robert the Felton invented the steam ship. So these are all were the new scientist he has to invented it some other the industrial revolution. So after that, what was the effect of industrial revolution? Look at see one by one what were the effect of this industrial revolution. The industrial revolution made England to that economically strong by the country, and then socialization, social rose as the industrialization led to the exploited of these works. There were the visible growth in the social economic life due to that the expressions of this the modernity, and then due to the invention in the transport during that industrial revolution, the entire globe became a village. Through the development took place to increase the population led the poverty and the food crisis. And the last one, the industrial revolution led a huge up and between the rich and the poor. So these are all were to the effect of the industrial revolutions. Overly, this chapter will be closed. This chapter will be closed. I given to the notes of this topic in your WhatsApp number. Thank you so much watching for these videos. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.